Hello, good Tuesday afternoon.
Evening, good Tuesday evening, everyone. We're now in the middle of a marathon. No, forget to stretch. Oh, I forgot to stretch. Sorry.
Like a clown.
Get it
Like
ready.
clowns. This is the first time I've exercised in like months.
Continue. This is a marathon. Cannot stop, babe.
Okay, so we have to keep talking while we're running.
Okay, keep going. I'm still at the starting line. How come I'm only at...
We just have to switch like virtual background. So hi guys. So my name is Lin, and this is Jada.
Hi, I'm Jada. I'm running really hard right now.
Welcome to tonight's Down the Rabbit Hole. And you know, see, I can't even talk and run at the same time.
Let's try this.
Okay, tonight's topic is on winning the long haul. Okay, so which is kind of explains why this setup. And as you might already know, Down the Rabbit Hole is an inner work talk show for coaches, where we invite you to spend an hour with us. Hey, stop running already.
Oh,
keep running, watching you win. Where we invite coaches to join us for an hour to sit with us and really just tumble down the rabbit hole with us and go within, go inside. We will be talking about topics and asking questions to you and to each other that will get you to think and go beyond the surface of your everyday thoughts.
It's very difficult to exercise and talk this at the same time. Okay, so let's keep going. Yeah, and I think the reason why we really wanted to do this talk show, as we've mentioned so many times before, right, is that, you know, as coaches, we often give our clients the space to unpack and to really unravel what's happening for them. But as coaches, we don't necessarily have that space for ourselves to go deeper and see what's like bothering us, or what are some of the issues that's pertinent to us that we don't have the luxury of time to unpack. And so this 1 hour talk show together with me and Lin, and with the special speakers that we've invited on, we really want to make use of this time to really just explore, talk about things that we don't talk often. And tonight we have a very, very special topic. As you can see, this is a marathon. This is a running track, and Lin, you just finished how many kilometers have you just finished?
42 km, man.
You look gorgeous after finishing 42 km. What's the trick there?
I drive. So let's see who we have with us tonight. Oh wow, okay, we have a lot of people. Okay, Samantha is asking, why are both of you in sportswear? So Sam, we dress according to the theme, and tonight is going the long haul, and the way that we interpreted it was running, race, you know, life is a race. And we'll come to why we chose this topic, right? But who else do we have with us tonight? Can you say hi in chat, put in your name, or give us like some fitness emoticon, okay? Let us know you're with us in this. Choose your fitness emoticon and put it in chat. If you can hear us and you're severely entertained, please give us a like and we'll just keep running.
You know, it's not very often that you see Lin or me in sports gear and they're like trying to do a marathon. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so why tonight? So this is the last episode of our success series. And we've talked about putting yourself out there. We've talked about money, your relationship to money. We've talked about your relationship to self-worth. And tonight we're going to talk about the most unsexy topic that nobody wants to really talk about. What?
What's that? What's the unsexy topic?
The unsexy topic is on resilience, perseverance, you know, just sticking it through, getting through the mud. I mean, nobody likes to think of their journey like that. Everybody just wants the instant gratification. I want the award, I want the credential, I want the money, I want the clients. But, you know, we don't often think about what is really involved in that.
Yep. Can I also just say, because I was looking at our virtual background, right? And, you know, when it comes to a race, okay, life's a marathon, but we are always so excited about the starting, right? Whenever you're about to start something, you get so excited, you are like raring to go. And then when you see someone finishing, like at the finishing line, you get really happy and you celebrate. But no one really examined all the nitty-gritty and all the pain that the person has to go through during that whole stretch from start to end. And I think that's really important that we want to unpack this evening.
It's like, you know, when you watch those Iron Man kind, or marathons, right? And you watch the beginning, people taking off, you watch the end, but you kind of skip the in between where you just see runners jogging, or they fall down. The person fell down. Oh, oops, oh, the person is dehydrated. Like all those dramatic parts. So we are going to actually focus on that today. Now, why? Because actually, if you look at it, a large part of succeeding and being the best at your game is simply your ability to outlast everybody, to outlast your competition. So I'm going to just be very shameless to say that, a large part of why I'm a MCC is because I the people whom I started out my coaching journey with, they just dropped off. Right. And I never understood perseverance and will and working hard and no. I mean, all that was never in my vision. And it's only after 10 years when I stand here and I look back and I go, there's nobody really around. Like, just keep walking, just keep running. And just by that, you're in the winning, what do they call that? Like, you're the first.
You're still in the game.
Yes.
Whereas others have already dropped off along the way.
Exactly. So we have a speaker tonight who has definitely shown us that. Now, he's not in like, I wouldn't say... I wouldn't say that he represents the physique of somebody who runs... What?
No, go on. Actually, I wanted to say he might not have the physics, but he definitely has more. I follow him on Instagram. I see him working out. He doesn't show it but he's got it there.
Yes. Okay, so let's introduce our guest tonight, who is Benjamin Low, and Jada will share a little bit about him. But before we go into that, I just want to say, when we thought about perseverance and will and winning the long haul, straight away Ben is the one. Why? Because years ago, how long? I don't know. 12 years ago, I think, when I was starting to build my career as a coach, Ben and I sort of started at the same time. And every day I would see, without fail, he would post. At that time, Facebook was the platform. And every single day he would post about himself, his journey, his clients, his work. He would just keep posting. And I look at him and go like, wow, Ben is super consistent. Like, I post one time and I don't post for the next 1 month. And just by that alone, Ben has trashed my ass in putting himself out there, getting gigs, really succeeding in that game.
Yeah. I mean, the list of things that I've got to introduce him is wow. Okay, so listen up, guys.
I'll stretch.
Okay,
I'll stretch while you do that.
Stretch. Okay. So Ben is the youngest certified speaking professional, which is actually the equivalent of an MCC in the speaking world. Okay, so he's really, really right up there in the speaking world. He's a published author, both in English and Vietnamese, and he's been featured on media over 70 times. Oh my God, Ben, how do you do it? He's spoken on stages across 15 cities to over 80,000 live audience and counting. And
have you revealed his age?
I've not.
Oh. I've not. We'll make them guess. Okay. We'll bring Ben on, and I want all of you to guess how old Ben is.
Yeah. And on top of speaking, right, and writing, Ben has also coached over 20 nationalities of CEO, C-suite level people on public speaking, on presenting themselves on stage, presence.
Yes.
Wow.
I'm just tired listening to you rattle off that. So without further ado, let's bring Ben into the race. Let's go.
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh,
where's Ben?
Is that what happened to Ben? Oh no.
Ben, did we stress you too much by introducing?
Yes. I'm getting changed because you all said it's like what, wearing sports attire, right? So I'm doing working out, because you all set the stage so high until I stress to be on screen now.
Okay, so while you change, I just want to say, why is it that when we were marketing this episode, we said, Ben is like a cockroach? We talked about cockroaches. We're going to talk about cockroaches tonight.
I know, right?
There was one time Ben and I were in the same certification program, and Ben said this sentence, which I'll never forget. He said, "I'm like a cockroach. You can't kill me." And so that's how we ended up talking about cockroaches. But you know what we can coin ourselves, Jada? We are not cockroaches. We are coach roaches.
That
So
sounds
it's
like,
like, no matter how people spray insecticides on us, we will not die. Is that what you mean by that?
No, I just try to not make it sound so gross. Because some people really have like a
Cockroach phobia.
parasite. Yes, yes. Hey Ben, are you ready or not? I'm just
I'm
tired.
I'm just thinking like this wallpaper could serve me because it shows your actually I don't know why we are so uncoordinated. It's like when we were having rehearsal, I was wearing sports attire. Then you're wearing dressy. And then now it's like opposite.
Okay lah.
Okay. But anyway, hello everyone.
Welcome back to the race. Let's keep going.
Oh, thanks so
Okay.
much for the setup, by the way.
Ben, we're gonna make you lose some weight, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so how old do you think Ben is? That's the question. You've heard his credentials. He's the MCC equivalent as a speaker. He has 70 media appearances. I mean, that blows my mind, okay? Seriously. All right, so how old do you think Ben is? Type in chat.
Yeah.
Okay, while that happens,
Does the winner that gets the right number win anything?
a date. Oh, Ben's taken. A coffee with Ben.
Coffee date. Yeah, maybe.
Coffee date.
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay, so Ben, maybe share with us when you started your journey as a speaker and a coach, and how old were you? What did that look like? I'm sure that was a far cry from who you are today.
Yeah. So the funny thing, right? Like coming onto this life is a bit like deja vu. Should I do this running thing all the way?
You see whether you can or not.
It's-
You're a
it's
speaker,
gonna, like,
right?
It's very
Able to-
difficult. It's very difficult.
We're
I
gonna
don't
do
know how
this,
Lin has managed to keep doing this.
And now I'm feeling all the heat from that whole like ring light lah. So it's like building up. Okay, but anyhow, I think it's a bit deja vu because like the year when we came into this coaching organization called ECI, Executive Coach International, right? That was 2008. So it's been a good 12 years. And I think as I look back, you two were the coaches that I looked up to. Yeah, so it's like whoa.
Down, look down.
No.
Shorter. Shorter.
Yeah, so that was how I started. We went into a coaching program. Lin and Jada were my coaches. And I think especially for Lin, you whole day kick my ass in all sense of it. Yeah. So yeah, it's really a journey. And I think how I started my sort of evolution or process was I was this blur kid back then. And I think my backstory was from 7 to 17 years old, I was a serial bully victim. So seriously, I'm feeling a bit sweaty as I'm saying now. I don't know
But
whether
it's because we are very hot, you know.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, if you think I'm
Why
hot,
you say thank you? No, we are very hot. No.
oh, you are very hot, and then you'll make me hotter, right? So, Janice said I'm 35 years old.
Janice, you're wrong. You're wrong. Guess again.
Oh,
guys.
come on, keep the age rolling
I
in.
feel
How
kind
old
of
is Ben?
demoralized already. Yeah. But anyhow, to keep the stream of thoughts,
Yeah.
7 to 17 years old, I was a serial bully victim. And then I went to a life coaching program to really discover myself. And I realized that one part of me really, really loved like being a coach. And I think when I went through the program, I saw what my coaches did for me. And I said, hey, I don't know how to get there. I don't know how the next few steps look like, but maybe in 10 years time, I love to be in a sort of helping capacity or helping profession on some level. And I said, hey, let's work towards there. So that was really how I started. You all saw me, right? Like how would you all describe me when you all first saw me? Be honest,
Blur COCK.
Okay.
Eager beaver.
Yeah, I second the eager beaver.
Eager beaver in what sense? There's a moment of truth here.
I say Ben's rather he strikes me as someone that's very conscientious. Like he's really putting in effort and working and learning, and he's not the type of person that is like loud or flamboyant.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
he's you can see that he's consciously learning, deliberately learning. That's my sense lah.
But I remember Ben was very dense. And it might have been that protection from all those years of bullying, but there wasn't like emotion. Oh, Ben was you were like zero emotions.
Yeah.
We took quite long to really get you to humanize.
Like this person that you see right here now, it is really like, again, I don't know how you're seeing me right now, but I think if I compare to like 10, 12 years ago, like I was like a piece of dead wood. Then now it's like maybe the wood, but a bit more holes, and then the water can go in and it can float up kind. So yeah, I started out like that. And I think I'm looking back pretty amazed by the coaches I've been like sort of like working and starting from, people I get to work with, clients I've been working with. So that whole journey took me through the 20s, and I would liken my 20s to be like doing a lot of crazy things, at least in my world. Like for example, when in uni, the average student would be studying, I did like 6 internships. partly because I was so screwed up and I was like bored with life. And sort of legend or sort of rumor has it that I was so upset with studying accountancy at my university. I called the president of my university and I said, sir, this is not how you should run a university, because I couldn't change my course and then I was so upset. I want to quit school. I cannot quit school and then stuff like that. So yeah, I think my 20s were this like mixture of rebellion, exploration, and experimentation. So that led to this creation, and then like how you all set me up, the CSP coach, as well as speaking over 8 countries, 15 cities. Yeah, so that's me.
Okay, so you are from an accounting background. You didn't
Yes.
like that, and you were basically searching for yourself. And
Totally.
you started this path when you were 20.
2008, that would be about 18, 19 years old.
So
Yeah.
now we know his age.
Mm.
Karina is close. Hi, Karina. Thanks for joining us. Okay, Ben, Karina says you're 32.
That's close. Yeah, 32, turning 33.
Oh, Karina gets a coffee date with Ben.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Karina,
me,
you have to
yeah.
ask permission from the wife first, though. Sorry.
Yeah. I don't even know whether my wife is watching, but hopefully not.
Okay. Augustine is with us. Hi, Augustine. And he asked, how can I be awesome and amazing like Ben?
Join 42 race, yeah, and then that will be how that's the secret.
Ooh. Oh, yes, Augustine is
Correct,
right.
correct.
Yeah, like
Keep running, come on.
he should be on this
Okay.
episode. I don't know why I'm misdressed and then I have different background.
Totally. That's dance. Okay.
Yeah,
Augustine, we're doing a virtual run right now.
Yeah. Okay,
Talk
let's
about
dive into it. Okay, let's dive in. Come on. All right, so Ben, when it's okay, you've been on stage, you've been in front of the limelight. I'm sure you've got your fans and you've been on papers. I mean, all those are like the snazzy, the snazzy, like very glamorous fronts of being a speaker and award winner, an author. But tell us some of the lowest points in your whole journey. Lowest points, like the points you wanted to just give up, throwing the towel, you were questioning, is this for me? Am I cut out to be like that? Tell us.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna be like pretty raw, yeah. So I want to throw this like a sort of like unplanned impromptu for everyone's. In fact, every 2 stories I share, you're gonna share one of each as well, yeah. Ken?
You mean us?
That's why I'm trying to get a speaker coach.
Alamak, Ben.
Okay, we'll play as things goes, okay?
Okay, let's go.
So I think when we were sort of unpacking like my story, right, and it's like peeling the layers of an onion, right? For me, I never really saw it as painful per se. I think for me, I have this like mechanism where I sort of like desensitize myself, but I think it's unhealthy, right? But anyhow, I'm going to go into one of the experience, which I told Lin as well as Jada. So it happened, I think, last 2 years in 2018. So a background is like I've been doing a lot of work in the life insurance industry. So like sort of life insurance industry for professional speakers are where they want to head to because there's a good volume of work and there's good exposure. I was sort of serving one of my anchor clients, and one of the days the clients just said, "Hey Ben, like we need you to speak in Chinese to China agents, 可以吗?" And then I was like, I froze for a moment, and then I'm like split-minded because it's always like there's this like the motivational side as well as the realistic side, right? The realistic side was telling me, Ben, come on, be realistic. You haven't spoken like proper Mandarin professionally for 16 years. Your Mandarin level is you go to 菜饭这个那个
比我的差
Yeah, 比你的差 right? So
how?
And that was that level lah. So that realistic me was talking. Right. And then the motivational side of me, like we all drink the motivational Kool-Aid all the time, right? I think it was by Richard Branson, and thanks Mr. Branson or Sir Richard Branson. He always say like when an opportunity comes your way, right, just say yes, and then you're like sort of find it along the way, or like if like success is like getting into just throwing a parachute onto your shoulder, and then you jump out of the airplane, not knowing whether it'll work, but or sort of the parachute will just like bounce out, right? So anyhow, the motivational part won, and then I just said, okay, Ken, 可以, right? Little did I realize that it was 3 months away, and I was like super packed into my speaking schedule. I was like, like 1 week in Indonesia, another week in Vietnam, and then to Malaysia. I was doing a speaking tour. I got in a Mandarin coach, but I realized the days were getting shorter. It was the first time in my speaking journey that I had sleepless nights, right? I literally had sleepless nights. And then on top of that, my wife can probably attest to that. I would sleep, and then about like 1 a.m., right, I'll wake up and then I'll gesticulate. And then I'll say like 大家好，欢迎来到我们这个课程。我们的课程要讲的是 right, and all this it means like hello everyone, this is our class today, blah blah blah. I will say in Mandarin, and then I will just literally sit up with all my hand gestures, and then I'll fall back to sleep. And then my wife would say like, this guy is weird. Like, why did I marry him? So that was like the build up, and finally when I flew into Macau, I couldn't sleep the very night before. I woke up on actual day 4 a.m. I was so tensed up. I was like facing the mirror, and I did everything I shouldn't do, as what a public speaking coach would say, right? So one thing, don't memorize your script. I couldn't not memorize because I was so fearful. So I rehearsed from 4 all the way until 9 a.m. That was me speaking. Long story short, I went up on stage, I bombed, right? So I did everything that I shouldn't be doing, reading from the script, turning my back to the audience, and then I knew that they were disconnected. Anyhow, being a professional speaker, right, you're going to be like a sort of a prize creature. Everyone after the sort of the speech, you're going to like, oh, 卢老师你讲得好好啊. Then you take photo, 美图美颜, everything, right? That was a bit of consolation, but I know the truth always stings, right? It stung me, and I knew I didn't make it. The worst and the moment of sort of awakening was I went into the lift, preparing to just go back to the hotel room to unwind. I stepped into the lift. I had all the people fill up, and then I had 2 ladies enter the lift. Right? Nothing sexy, by the way. It's just like people. But the lift closed, and then I could hear. Right? One of the Chinese ladies told the other Chinese lady and said, 刚才我们大厅的讲师讲得好烂，真的是浪费我们的时间。Right? So in English, it means like the speaker in the main hall was a total waste of our time. We should have just went elsewhere. Right? And I knew the schedule. I was like like pre-lunch. So I spoke Finnish. Everyone was like lunch. And I was the only main hall speaker.
Oh.
So that moment, I would always like recall it was a very surreal moment, because it was not a lonely experience, because there were a lot of people, but I felt super lonely. Like from that lift, it was like, if you could see, it's very emotional experience. I went from like, I think 2nd or 3rd banquet floor all the way until like 21st floor. It was one of the longest lift journeys for me. And then I went back to my room, and then I wallowed in self-pity, and then I texted my wife. I said, I totally screwed this, I bombed this. Maybe I shouldn't be on the Chinese speaking stage. But I don't know what happened. I think like a week later, sort of I bounced back. I just felt that if I had just give up back then, I wasted that pain. Right? Like for me, I don't know, like I suffered that pain of embarrassment. I suffered the pain of humiliation. I suffered the pain of like, I felt that I even did them an injustice. But
Wait,
then
how many people were you? How many?
800 people.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was speaking to 800 mainland Chinese, and I know that there's no way I could be at the top level, right? Like even if I can progress to above the 这个那个 Mandarin conversational, like professional Mandarin, right? To make a case out of it, to convince them, to teach them something, right? 3 months was crazy. So anyway, I bombed and crashed, but I realized that, for all the pain I suffered, if I quit, I wasted the pain. It's like I went through all the pain for nothing. So what happened was that on top of 1 Mandarin coach, I hired 2 Mandarin coaches. I was listening to Mandarin podcasts every single day. And I was like reading like Baidu articles and really forcing myself. I changed my iPhone OS to Mandarin to really literally put myself into this like environment. So again, it's all good stories. It had a positive ending. I think last year I was speaking in Hong Kong, and this was a similar client, and then I spoke full session in Mandarin. I said, just trust in your voice, Ben. And that was one of the best experiences. In fact, I felt in a Chinese delivery, I felt that joy. I felt that energy. I felt that aliveness that sometimes even my English delivery, because I knew the content so well, I couldn't be me. Yeah. So that was really my lowest point. And then I push. And then I had like a breakthrough moment. So that was again, to respond to you, the lowest moment I've had in the recent years as a speaker.
Can we rewind back a bit? I just want to run back a little bit to that moment when you were in that lift. Then you hear that, and you heard those like the ladies making that comment. I mean, like, what were thoughts going through your head?
Like, I mean, I knew that they were speaking about me, but I couldn't like, I mean, what could I do? I couldn't like tap on the shoulder, say, hey, 我在这里, right? I couldn't like expose myself. So it's like a sense of like knowingness, but yet you don't want to go and like expose yourself, but yet you're very paiseh, you're very embarrassed that you are the butt of their conversation. And then there's also like, you totally suck. Like why? And as a speaker coach, right, I always say, and this was shared to me by an African friend. He said that public speaking is such a important duty because like when you speak on stage for 10 minutes to 50 people, right, you're not just delivering a 10-minute speech, right? You're taking up 500 minutes of the world's time, right? So let that sink in a while, right? 10-minute speech, 50 people, you're taking up 500 minutes of the world's time because literally 50 people invested 10 minutes of their life. And all of our life, we have the two most important assets, right? Our time as well as our attention. They give me time, they give me attention. And I had 800 people times, I believe it was 90 minutes, right? So do the math and it's I'm not practicing what I preach. So that was like a moment of like, having this big knife and stabbing into my heart and say, you're such a hypocrite, right? Yeah. And then I was like blaming myself, like, you should have said yes. Why didn't you just manage your time better? Why don't you just have start having more clarity, better management of yourself and energy? So all the self-blaming started to hit me in that moment. It was like just overwhelmed. It's like a tsunami of like negative emotions that just overwhelmed me in that moment.
So just to put it in perspective, right? I think a lot of people, if they were in your shoe at that point of time, right, would have just given up, right? To say like, maybe, okay, I will not ever attempt to speak Mandarin on a stage ever again, or I'll just focus on what I'm really good at. I'll just forget this part, because you really just want to get away from that feeling of failing, okay, in that sense, right? The embarrassment you said, but then you managed to, like, I don't know how you did, and just in 1 week time, in a very short frame of 1 week time, you bounced back and got back on track.
Yeah.
What happened in that time, in that 1 week? I mean, what were some of the things that you were thinking or going through to get yourself back to hiring another second coach?
I think, honestly, I can't recall, but I think if I try to logically think back, right, my modus operandi is like, every time I hit the lowest, right, the next guiding question is always what's next. But every time when I get a high, right, I also say what's next. So for me, it's like I think there's this innate drive that I want to prove myself, right? I want to prove like how far I can go. So again, it's just down back to what I just said. No, like I don't want to suffer for nothing. And I think I was sharing on Facebook as well. I think it's by this Japanese author. It says that I don't mind all the pain, but I just need to know what is the meaning of my suffering, right? And I think for me, the meaning of my suffering is if pain allows me to forward myself, transcend myself, to go forward. I think that's most important, right? And since we are all here, I still recall there was one time when I was leading a coaching preview back in ECI. I don't know if you all recall, that was quite an embarrassing moment. I was leading a live coaching preview with Yu Ting, right? And we had like a good healthy 30 to 40 people. Half of them walked out of the preview. And then like the people that stayed, I still recall my girlfriend was there, then girlfriend, she carried a bouquet of roses. And then when we're doing like completion, right, in our terms, which is like a debrief, I totally break down in front of everyone. And I still recall I was being told like, every time when you fall down, right, but when you pick up and you stand up, right, there's actually distance being moved. And that is the way I sort of like make sense of pain, of failing, is that as long as I am bearing that pain, having the meaning of pain, and failing, but failing forward instead of backward, right, it's always distance move. I may not have gone the full mile, but at least I fell, but I move a baby step. So that's what's in my mind. So that's really like how I process pain. I always see like what's the meaning, what's the use of it.
And so you have a very useful and a healthy relationship to pain, which I don't know whether many people have, or maybe I don't think it's a very common topic to even talk about. So maybe let's shine a bit of torchlight on that, right? Our relationship to pain. And especially in today's world where instant gratification, like everybody's chasing instant gratification. And like what Jada said, I'm not good at it, so I'm just gonna focus on what I'm good at. Because that's also what everybody in the marketing realm tells you, right? Just do what you're good at, right? But at the same time, if you're just always doing what you're good at, then you're never building your muscles. So let's talk about pain. How do you guys relate to pain?
Okay. That's a very deep question, by the way, Lin. I'm trying to process that.
Yeah, the first word that came to my head is ouch. It's like ouch.
I think before I share that, right, I would love everyone who's like tuning in, please just throw the questions into the chat box and the comment box, because it helps us to also flow with the conversations, because periodically I'm looking to there. Responding to Lin, right, I think pain for me, I think you can see it from multiple layers. Like one, you can see like it's the emotion, right? And recently I was on a mentor's call and he was talking about, like, for example, how do we know something is hot?
Yeah, you
right?
touch it.
Yeah. So how do we know something is hot, especially scalding hot?
You throw something at it and you watch it burn.
Yeah, we get burnt, right? So he was like basically, and then sort of, I'm trying to build up the whole sort of like the meaning. Yeah, we know something is scalding hot when we've gotten burnt before.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of people, they get burnt, but they do not sort of process and internalize the experience. But what in his world, he says that no, if people can process, internalize, and make meaning of this is what we call as wisdom, right? So for me, I think again, I like to think right? We in all our life, I don't know whether I should go there, but there was this book, The Road Less Traveled. All right, life is suffering. Right, life is suffering, and again, this book has been one of the seminal books that I read, and that totally sort of like gave me the sense like, we're going to be suffering on all levels, right? Physical suffering. And as I'm saying, I shared on Facebook where I was speaking in Indonesia, and one of the sort of agency directors that was liaising with, he just passed on in his sleep due to heart problems, right? And earlier this year, my eldest uncle also passed on, right? So there's this like physical suffering that we have to go through, right? There's always that emotional level of suffering and pain that we have to go through. Like, for example, when I was growing up, I had this nickname called 321. I sort of like professed my love to 3 girls. They all rejected me, by the way. I got 2 swollen, teary eyes and 1 broken heart, so hence 321.
Oh.
So yeah, you all make me say all this. I feel that's why I use this like backdrop.
It's okay. You're married and you're gonna have a kid soon, so
Yeah. So that's the emotional pain, right? And then was that so physical, emotional, and then as well as mental pain, which is like sometimes we feel so small, we feel inadequate, right? So I think to tie up my side, right, in terms of what is pain to me, I think pain is going to be a constant. And if it's going to be a constant, how do we sort of rationalize it and make meaning out of it? So for me, that's a way, like, again, maybe call me a more like a rational, more than emotional, but I sink in the emotions, but I don't let myself be in that emotional pool for too long. That may be healthy, that may not be healthy.
This duality that you talk about is interesting one, right? Where you say life is suffering. And that does talk about that duality because it's like what Karina put in chat, no pain, no gain. It's something we all know.
Yeah.
And we all know that we only grow and we get, we move towards our goals when we're out of a comfort zone. But then being outside our comfort zone is exactly painful. So that is actually like that duality of pain and movement kind of goes together. So back to the question of how do you deal with pain? Because if pain is really so much a part of our life journey, I think it's important that we look at how we deal with it.
I want to add to what Karina's mentioned about no pain, no gain. I think conceptually it's like this, right? But I want to say, like, how to say no intentional pain, no fruitful gain, right? I don't know if I'm overdoing it, but I think again, like a lot of people, we go through very painful moments, right? But we never really stop to pause.
Yeah, and hold it down.
Yeah,
so we don't face that, right?
Yeah,
face that pain.
They just go through it and then they brush it aside and then they face it again and then brush it aside. And I think that may not be, at least in my opinion, you're not really like going through the experience. I mean, a part of being wise about your pain as well is you shouldn't face the same pain all over again. So like for example, for me, right, same kind of pain is going one coach and then trying to do a stupid speech in 3 months. And then I'm being a COCK if I'm doing the same thing again. So obviously I have to do something different, right? So that's the internalizing, making sense, okay, stopping and say, okay, Ben, if you don't want to be a COCK, what should you do? What should you not do, right? So there's the intentional pain, right? So the intentionality, making sense of it, so that you don't be a COCK, freaking sweating already, so that you get a fruitful gain. So that's my perspective, lah. Like, I think sometimes we are stupid in some sense, whereby we go through the same mistakes, whether in professional, personal life, over and over again. We face the same pain, and then
And then what happens is that you bitch and whine, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
why
yeah,
is my
yeah.
life like that? You know,
Yeah, yeah.
why does this always happen to me? But when you don't hold down the pain and face it, you don't learn.
Yeah.
Like social media now a big distraction. The moment people are upset, they go on social media, right? Some people post about it. Some people like just distract themselves. Some people just escape into something else.
Yep, yep. So where do we head from here?
What's your relationship to pain?
I'm
Jada,
thinking
what are you
to
thinking?
no. So I mean, I'm reflecting on all this, right? And because I think I don't really associate myself. I mean, I don't relate to the word pain itself because I try to avoid pain, right? So wherever I have a setback or something that's not happy happening, I will just like move, Jada, move, get over it, move. So I always move without processing. So I feel the pain. I always feel it as an I can experience it, but I don't process like, okay, what is it that I really need to learn from this? Because that process itself requires me to sit down and be still. But because I run on, I need to keep moving, right? Yeah. So I just Jada, keep going. Don't stay there. Keep moving.
Oh, because some people believe that if you wallow in it, you're wasting time, right? Like you could be spending the time doing something productive. Why are you?
Yeah. Yeah. So then I say, okay, forget about that pain, forget about whatever shitty thing that happened, just keep moving. So I just tell myself, I cycle myself that way. But I know what you mean by that, right? That there is really some wisdom if you can gain. There's really some wisdom to gain from really being still with that pain and being with it. But the problem is a lot of people, I think these days, just don't have the capacity to sit with pain. It's not just the capacity, also the time and the patience to like reel ourselves down, to slow down.
Even the know-how.
Yeah.
Right. Even when we say sit with pain, what exactly does that mean? So maybe I can share something, today was a bit of a difficult day. I shared it on my IG that I was having a difficult day.
Yep.
I was very discouraged. Yeah. A couple of things happened. I'm very discouraged. And I was thinking, and the only thing that kept me going, I was like, okay, tonight we're actually supposed to talk about resilience. Come on, Lin, like you don't get so discouraged so easily. And I look at myself, like I step out of myself and I look at myself and I say, come on, Lin, really, you're like you're so easily discouraged. Just one person say something or you see somebody post something and you get discouraged. I mean, seriously, here you are going to be talking to Ben Low tonight, So anyway, this is what happened. So maybe I share what happened for me, right? So somebody whom I there's a certain sort of level of endearment. I love him as a colleague. We work together, and he messaged me to say, okay, I've thought about it, and basically I need to prioritize my life, i.e. he needs to drop out of some business projects that we're working on. So immediately my heart was starting to beat faster and I can see all the drama in my head. I was thinking, why is it that people always leave me when there's money to be made elsewhere? Like, don't people know that starting a business, you're gonna have to suffer first? Like, so I was running my whole betrayal drama. Like, I feel so betrayed, and I was really very upset. I can see the whole thing building up, right? And I was supposed to have a call with him today, and I was just in my head, I was just imagining, just want to say like, what, are you just gonna dump us because you got money elsewhere? Like all these things were coming in, and I was like, okay, no. So straight away, what I did was, okay, Lin, so slow down. Number one, recognize my drama, right? Put that out. I know that I have a betrayal program that's quite,
I want to pause here.
What?
Exactly what Lin is doing right now, right? The question that you're telling yourself, right? That's the know-how. That's the, Ben, you need to pause. Lin, you know to pause, right? That's the know-how, right? So I don't know whether it's a coach's thing or not. Like I think I attribute a lot of that to two things. Like one, I've been all my life an introvert, right? So I actually perform much better in solitude. Like I can once I keep quiet, right? Like I just like sit in a garden or like no garden, like in a sort of a park, right? I can sort of like still myself. But I think too as well, coaches have this like amazing skill set, which is to ask questions, right? Coaches never have the answers, but coaches ask questions, and sometimes when they ask themselves the key questions that they're always throwing out, like we feel very shook to ask people questions, like as a coaches, there's a bit of like ego trip, like so Lin, what do you think? Right? They expect that the genius emerge from the client, right? But sometimes when we throw the question back to us, I think we also have the inner genius that sometimes if we are willing to confront who's inside, that unveils a lot. So yeah, so whatever Lin just said is that know-how.
It's true. When we coach enough hours, you actually groom that inner coach. So the first step was, okay, recognize. I think awareness is very important because nothing changes without awareness. If you don't have awareness of what's going on, you don't have power to change it. So it starts with the awareness. I had to stop the drama. I had to ask myself what's important. And what was important to me as like the wise, mature thing to do is to just bless him and go, you are free to do whatever you want to do. Right. And I love you all the same. And I really actually wish you success, you know, and to not collapse. So what's important to me is a relationship. And that's something that I always preach. I say relationship is the most important thing because working together is more of a project level, but at the base of it is a relationship. So I had to sort of really in that whirlwind sort of center myself and ask myself what's important, what am I going to focus on? And I can see the old programs coming back and trying to distract me. And when I had the conversation with him, I just wanted to really understand. I think all this again is from coaching training, right? Where you just put aside your frameworks and just try to understand where the person, what the person's dealing with, why they have their reasons, and to recognize that him actually telling me is trust. It's not betrayal that he left the project. It's trust that he's saying, Lin, I can't manage this. Not because of you, because of me. So actually it worked out well. After he said he felt really, really relieved.
Yeah.
So
I just want to say that the whole the ability to hold space is what we do so excellently as coaches, right? Like
For others.
for the uninitiated, right? To hold space for others is just like setting aside space, setting aside all your garbage so that you can be present to your client, right? But sometimes we don't hold space for ourselves, right? We don't hold space enough for ourselves to be with ourselves, to listen to ourselves. And I think that's a scary thought, right? Like I sometimes feel that my schedule, like when I look at my PA, she scheduled like 6 back-to-back calls in one afternoon. I'm like thinking like, where's time for myself? Right. But I think once we are able to like set space for ourselves and hold space for ourselves, I think it's that whole conversation of like self-care as well that sometimes it's so important.
So it is, so it's like, okay, so if we put, whether is it the road to success, right, or life general, right, it's like a marathon. Okay, we all know that it's not going to be a sprint, it's going to be a marathon that you have to keep running, right? You can't just say suddenly, you can't just say, I want to stop running, I don't want to run anymore, right? Because life will still go on, time will still go on, right?
Like a travelator, you can't get off,
Or a hamster wheel that you can get off. Yes.
No, I'm not in the hamster wheel.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on how you look at it. But yeah. I get where you're coming from.
No.
Anyway, Jada, continue.
No, so I was going to say that so it's like we are all on this hamster wheel or travelator, whatever it is that is called life. Okay, we can't get off, we just can only keep going forward. Then the question is, when failure and setback comes, right, do we have the ability to stomach and bounce back? What's our pain threshold really, right, to keep bouncing back? Because most of the time people will either jump off, right, or they will just stop. Okay, so the question number one is, what is your pain threshold? How are you relating to pain so that you can keep bouncing back? And then in that moment when you face that pain, are you able to stop and hold space for yourself to gain the wisdom out of that?
Well, Irene says, I want pain. Heart. Thank you. Wow.
Hello, Irene. Irene's one of my students from the Philippines. So,
wow.
yeah.
Hi. So I
now,
love that.
Yeah, exactly. Now we have like friends and followers from out of Singapore as well, which is amazing.
Oh, I mean, I love the part that she wants pain. But yes, I love the part that you're from Philippines.
I think I programmed that whole I want pain. I was like suffering. I tried to like in my social media posting, getting them to reframe that pain part. Yeah.
But it is true. Once you accept that pain is part of your journey, and if your journey is worthwhile, if you're choosing something that you're passionate about and that is meaningful for you, then the pain has meaning, like what you said. And so then it's down to Jada's second question of how do we hold down that space for ourselves? Interestingly, so a couple of days ago, I was talking to another very successful speaker, and he was telling me that his tendency is to just run the whole day back to back to back to back, and then at night he can't sleep. And then one of the coaches that he was talking to a coach, and the coach said, look, you need to decompress. So you need to have spaces in your day where you just let go of what's in your space, right? So you don't chalk it up, and until at night you can't sleep. So decompress in between, so that you kind of spread that whole thing out and you deal with it as it comes along. And I second that, because today when I found those negative emotions and thoughts building up, I realized that I was just trying to drill through work, and so that, you know, that kanchongness from getting work done just added everything on, and I went, okay, that's it. I just need to plug out. I plugged out. I went to I just want to have a little play with my crystals. My crystals. And I think just that 15 minutes to breathe, to get some fresh energy in, it really helped. So maybe one of the tactics there is to don't like stack everything. Right? Have these mindful pockets.
Yeah. I want to throw in two things, but I'm looking at the chat as well. I just want to check in if you're getting value from this conversation. Can you just type in yes and let us know, because I think when we run these live shows, right, we never know, like, technically we can see like who's joining in, but we never know, like, how much of this, like, is it an insight to you? Is it an aha moment? So if you find that you've been getting something useful, please type in yes. And in the last, like, I don't know how many more minutes, we're going to have like a Q&A as well if there are questions. But I'm going to throw in two perspectives, right? One is if you are a coach, please, this has been a sort of documentary on Netflix that I've been highly recommending. It's called The Coach's Playbook, right? So they interview a lot of top coaches, and then they talk about the inside, the inner game, the inner work, and how they bring the inner game to influence their people, their players, right? So there was one thing that I particularly liked from this, like, NBA sports coach. See, I can't even remember his name, but I remember what he said. One of the lessons he said, like, pressure is a privilege, right? Pressure is a privilege. And I think as a coach, right, this was a question thrown to me, like, like, why is that a big lesson? I think for me as a coach, giving the how is almost part of it. Like, we need to teach people what to do, right? But the moment we can let people see the why and the what, right? So the why is like, how do we process things? How do we like make sense of it, right? So I think that was a very powerful reframe to allow us to see a lot of things that we may not be able to see, right? So a lot of people think that pressure is like a form of suffering, right? But when you start to say that pressure is a form of privilege, because you have to earn yourself and earn your way to be in that court, right? And to play at your level, play at better level, it's kind of like a badge of honor. It starts to have that kind of appreciation of what's all that thing that's coming. Like, you're running a race and you're sweating, and you say, like, I like this sweat, I like this sweat. No, it's like a bit of like enjoying that whole painful process, so to speak, right? So I think on the mental level, this is my contribution, is like, have useful frames, have useful mental models that will help you to guide you to forward yourself in whatever the work you do, right? The second thing that lately, I know it's so not me, but I've been into meditation, right? So I've been doing box meditation, right? So box meditation is something that's used by Navy SEALs, by athletes, by CEOs, right? So basically what you're supposed to do is to take a deep breath. Okay, maybe let's do it together, yeah? You want to close your eyes, don't close your eyes, okay? But you're going to like take a deep breath for 4 seconds, right? So that's like breathing for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and then breathe out for 4 seconds, and then hold for 4 seconds, yeah? So let's just try one cycle, right? Okay, in 3, 2, 1, breathe in for 4 seconds, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, hold for 4 seconds, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, and breathe out for 4 seconds, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, and then hold for 4 seconds, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000. Right? You all can open your eyes. I know this is a very short experience, but obviously you're running a live, right? Not a meditation session. You do 15 to 20 cycles of this. It's almost like a emptying kind of like state, right? So I do that with my coaching clients these days. Like, when they come to my office, I say, hey, before we go into your excitement of your day, before you go into how crappy your day was, okay, set it aside first, then we're going to do box breathing. So it's literally called box because, the shape, if you go YouTube it, that is one of the very practical things that I do. Sometimes, when I'm so squashed out back to back, it just takes 5 minutes. Totally centers me. Yeah, so something practical that I do. Jada, what about you?
I put on 432 hertz music.
Or whatever that means.
It's a frequency. It's a frequency that puts you into a very I don't know what's Zen,
Tranquil, is
yeah?
it? Zen state.
Zen state.
Yeah.
So whenever I feel like stress, like I've got a lot of things going on, I've got too many noises in the head, I feel pressure on top, right? I'll go onto YouTube, 432 hertz, and then I'll just let it play. And then it helps to slow everything down for me.
Yeah.
So that music helps to hold space. That's how I do it. Yeah.
It's nicer. So we are actually exploring physical anchors that anchor us or kind of put us back on that path. And it could be anything from meditation to crystals to music to some people I know dance, some people journal. So I think number one, the question to everybody is, do you have that kind of practice? And make sure you have that in your life. I wanted to kind of go a different direction. When we spoke about, so back to pressure is a privilege, I wanted to ask you, was there a moment in your life, in your career, right? So the both of you, where that rang very true for you. That means you went through something which was painful, challenging, difficult. You were highly stressed, whatever that is, and you made it through. And that actually made you stronger. Like you kind of, the pain forged you.
I have to say, I think a lot of many moments in my career, if I were to think through, not just career, right? Personal life also, like incidences, stuff that happened that just, like for example, the first thing that came to my mind was, I recall my very first job. Okay, that was like when I was in my early 20s, very first job, got criticized also. I had to flew all the way out to Switzerland for a design work project. I remember that time. And I flew back to Singapore, and my boss told me actually the client was not happy with me because I did a really terrible, I didn't do a good job. But the thing is, so Ben, when you shared that story earlier on just now, right, I wanted to say is a lot of times people don't hear real honest feedback about how they're doing. And so when you have real honest feedback given to you, I think that it's also a privilege, which then using that privilege, right, you use it to push, I use it to push myself to work harder.
Exactly.
And that to me is the privilege, like,
Yeah, I mean, I want to think back, and then it traced back to the lift incident. I don't know, folks who were listening to us from the start, right? Had I not had that two ladies to say I suck and I was a waste of time, right? I don't think I will feel the intensity of the pain that will make me feel so shitty and crappy and making me feel like an utter loser. Then that wouldn't have that impetus for me to want to get better, right? And again, like to put it on the flip side, my US mentor always says that success is like gravy, right? Success is like gravy; it covers everything. Right? So when you're successful, everything is just like there's like confetti or potpourri of like like imagine I'm feeling a bit hungry now, like chicken chop, the chicken chop gravy just like lump everywhere. And then you hike everything and you feel that it's like all warm and cozy, right? So
it's
I think
an illusion.
it's an illusion.
Yeah.
It's like call it like a way of coping it, And sometimes even when we are successful, right? For me at least, I feel there's a like again the sense of emptiness, right? It's like is it a given? So I feel again to reframe this, to give another mental model is like I feel sometimes failure teaches us so many things, right? Pain is not a bad thing. Right? If we all could learn to have a positive relationship with pain, I think pain is just feedback, right? Pain is like, for example, a needle poke inside, right? Pain is just as it is. But sometimes we ascribe meaning to that is not helpful to us, right? So like, for example, we have a fearful relationship with needles, but sometimes we need to get vaccination, but we feel that, we avoid the pain, but we also avoid the good things, right? But if we realize that pain is just that momentary feedback from our body to us, to our mind, then I think that reframes a lot of things. So that's how I see things now.
Can I say, because Lin, you were asking about pressure, right? And so I think with any setback, right, then you hear an honest truth, you get a real reality check of like the truth of the situation. Then if I were to recall myself at all those times, I was the one that was giving myself the pressure. Okay, now Jada, this is the situation now, okay? Then what are you going to do? You either move forward or you don't. And so then I took it on myself to give myself the pressure to, okay, do better next time, work on what's missing. So I think that kind of pressure actually turns a positive spin to pain, because then you're moving forward. I'm moving forward.
So I'm just saying that, I'm very present to how we are like sort of like trying to put a lot of like spin, a lot of meaning, and a lot of reframe. I think fundamentally, again, I don't want to sort of upplay my journey or downplay anyone, right? I think we're all on our own journey, right? Certain pain that I go through are not the kind of pain that people want to go through, and vice versa. So some of the pain that you go through, I would never ever go through, right? Like for example,
Childbirth.
Sorry?
Childbirth.
Childbirth. Okay. So if my wife is listening down there, I never want to be like giving birth to a child. I'd rather be taking care of a kid. Yeah, so I think we all have our unique journey. We need to come up with that script that matters to us, right? That whole making sense of it.
You have to make your own meaning out of your own pain.
So can I share, right? I think talking about childbirth and also a moment in my career that forged me, I realized that when in these two moments, going through the pain, I didn't have anybody else. So childbirth is, nobody can help you, for God's sake. The baby is coming out of your own, right? People can give you water and massage you and all that, but I have to pull through it myself.
Yeah.
That's one. The career moment, I was in a hotel room in Jakarta. It was a very big assignment. And I couldn't sleep. I had a massive migraine. I was very, very, very stressed out. And in that moment, I'm alone in Jakarta. I had nobody else. It was 2-3 a.m. And I am only left with myself. But actually looking back, I think those moments of pain strengthened my relationship to myself. Because I learned that number one, I can rely on myself. And number two, I actually have the strength and wisdom within to go through the pain by myself. And I think that's magical. Like that's the takeaway out of these two experiences. So back to meaning, I think it's also what...
Is that your girl?
No, that's my niece.
Oh, okay.
Oh, she's going through pain. I think it's back to also understanding your values, right? We need to know what makes us tick and to use that to deal with the pain, but importantly, not run away from it. Because as we progress along the journey of success and mastery, it's really less and less of, how do I say this? I think a lot of it is removing your own obstacle, facing your own truth. Like what Ben said, as you get more successful or you climb higher up there, people don't want to tell you the truth. They are the gravy. And you need these reality check moments to keep yourself in check. And that's just really going to happen more and more. So the pain, I think that's sort of the use of pain in the journey.
Yeah, I'm looking at the chat, and Shihui did mention that, make the story remind you of, I don't know what's the MOTH, where is it moment of the H, that you can make a triumph story or defeat story out of everything. But like, I think as I wear two hats as a coach as well as a speaker, right? From the speaking side, sometimes I think it's this Hokkien word called, I don't know how to say it in English, right? It's like, if you ever find elegant translation for that Hokkien word, please let me know. But I think it's that, we have a very warped way of thinking. As a professional speaker, right? We are always having a way to say, every negative incident, every fiasco, every disaster that happened today is good fodder to tell as a speech tomorrow, right? So we have this, like, again, call this optimistic lens that as a speaker, functionally, professionally, right, we are seeking out stories. And there's no better stories as a speaker to tell from himself or herself than his or her own stories. So that's another way that, we see the world. And I think, again, the way, the lenses that we see the world, right, is going to really affect us everything, like downstream. So maybe,
I can't relate to that though. I know that's a speaker thing, but no, I don't want to go through all that and to just have like stories to tell.
Yeah. I know it's like we're just like airing our dirty linen and then telling stories and that entertaining. But again, choose the lens to work for you.
Yeah. So I think what I'm hearing and getting out of all this really is, right, through your toughest moments, you really is honing down your muscle, growing your muscle to increase your capacity for yourself, right? The more pain not say the more pain you go through, but whatever If you're a lucky person, you have no pain in your life, good on you, right? But then if you don't, right, or along the way you feel obstacles or whatnot, right, I think it's your ability to then bounce back, because then that's where your capacity for yourself increase. Then that's when you get mentally tougher. You know, I always admire people who can run marathons. People who run marathons have like really strong mental mindset that no matter what happens, they have to keep going. Right. And I think it's the same thing again for life. If you have a goal right at the end, right? If you set your eyes on that goal, whatever comes your way, setback or whatnot, you just have to learn to bounce back, and then you grow stronger.
I like your analogy, and I'm going to borrow it. So there are actually two phases, right? The first phase is when you go to the gym before the marathon and you just work out and work out and work out, and you are choosing to put yourself go through that pain, because it's supposed to make you stronger. So I mean, earlier on in the chat, somebody also said that as well. It's a muscle that you get used to. And I think these are the times, the moments where you prepare, okay, for whatever that you're up to in your life. You're preparing and you're getting better. And then you join the race. And this is what I was struggling to say earlier on. When you're in the race, the only way to keep going is to constantly deal with that. Constantly deal with the pain that you're going through. But it's not about how do I run better. It's not about technique anymore. It's not about how much water I drink or, the scenery and distract myself. It's about how do I keep dealing, is constantly your relationship with your pain that you just need to get through. And this also goes back to what I understand about performance coaching. When we talk about high performance, when we're working with clients, high performance really is only about removing obstacles. That's it. It's not about improving your technique. It's not about so much getting your script right, but if you just keep removing the obstacles, the physical ones that are there and the ones in the mind, you're releasing all the pegs on that hold the wings down. That's it. You're just dealing with what stops you.
And I want to say that as a coach, right, we talking about pain, right, is also knowing about our clients' pain points as well, right? So I think functionally for me, when my coach was coaching me, I think, and I wouldn't name him, but I know that he knew my pain points, right? And my pain points was that the more you step on me, the more I will bounce back. So I think again, if you use it in the right ethics and right point of view, I think it could be very, very empowering. I think as coaches, right, if the ability for us to know ourselves and awareness of our clients and knowing his or her pain points and pain spots, right, are literally the little buttons to get people from 0 to 10 or 0 to 100 in such a rapid moment. So I think again, that's another way to look at in terms of, since you talk about performance coaching.
Like, how do we cope with pain? So I do know that about you, Ben. The more somebody tells you no, you can't, the more you're like, well, I can. I'm gonna do it. The cockroach.
Yeah.
Like for me, I know, so I get very easily discouraged. So emotionally, I'm quite squishy and quite lembek. I'm not like you, but I need people who would lift me up. And again, my coach knew that. So he would let me hit myself against the wall, and then he'll say, okay, come, tell me about it. And create that space. Like, that's the way that I deal with, I can keep moving on.
Yeah.
Jada, what about you? What's the best way for you to deal with?
I need to wallow in it for a moment. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you probably know me, right? I will wallow in that for a few days and just be like, and then somehow or another, I'll be like, okay, enough, Jada. It's done, over. Let's continue running, guys. Let's keep going. Yeah, so I just need to wallow in that misery for a couple of days.
What happens in that wallowing? Are you holding it down? Are you feeling self-pity? Are you just like, what happens?
Are you graving yourself in the gravy of pain?
Sometimes, okay, so this, I don't know if this is appropriate for this touch, but sometimes there is a misery or pain can be quite addictive. Now you can just, there is a very twisted notion to it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can go very dark, ladies. Like, it will go to the pain conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes if in moments of like unhappiness or sadness, I can put on like sad music and then I'll just wallow in that misery for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then just feeling and enjoying that emotion itself. Okay, but that's not
it's true. So for me, angst and agitation is a way that I stay attached to the pain. And so it did take effort today for me to kind of pull myself out and stop that program. And there's certainly something that came up, Ben, earlier on when you talked about that relationship to pain, because there are people who have a very twisted relationship to pain. Pain defines them. The more painful their life, the more dramatic. the more I've lived my life, the more I have stories to tell. And if you're one of those, then it's also not healthy.
Yeah, it's not healthy.
I just want to say that not healthy part, and I can be that ambassador for not healthy, right? I think, and I haven't really like said this publicly. I think to the outside world, I seem like ultra accomplished or whatever, the younger CSP, blah blah blah, like early 30s can work with these companies, right? But I don't think you want to be in my shoes as well, because it's a very, very lonely spot, right? I think and we said this in the sort of a setup call, that the reason why I can process pain is I can process the pain in loneliness and solitude, because that has been my programming, right? I think conversely, I have a pain of trusting people, right? I have a pain of like, and I never really have like close guy friends or girlfriends. I tell my wife, like, sometimes in life, I wonder why I don't have like best friends. And that's my pain, you see, right? That's the real pain. It cuts very deep, because I think a part of me, as I was growing up, I never really had people that I could trust and trust deeply. And maybe since then, that part of me has never healed. And that's why, we talk about, again, compensating and then going outside. So again, to the outside world, that nice varnish, that nice profile photos, that followers on Instagram, people think that, wow, this guy is ultra accomplished, but I'm pretty lonely as well. Like, I never really have like deep, close friends. I have many friends, but partly because it's the pain of mistrust, pain of getting to be betrayed, pain of letting them into my inner world. And that's how I achieve, again, this state. So I think, again, everyone has their own journey, and I am still like trying to process this pain of all of that, all the things mentioned, so that I can be a bit more happier of myself, and then find people that I can be with and be at the same frame, and then walk this journey together. Because walking this journey alone is a pain in itself.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that reminds us the importance of introspection and inner work. And when we talk about inner work here, it's owning where there are still holes to look at, or skeletons in the closet, and to look at those. Because when we can't straddle both ends of the spectrum, we are compromising our fulfillment of life. You don't get to live life to its fullest, even though sometimes it's painful, because you're just on one side of the spectrum, right? So, Ben, you painted that out. And it's also what Karina is saying. Pain makes us feel alive. It's better than numb. So it's still, there's like, you have numb on one end. You also have somebody who's like, I guess, emotionally like highly strung all the time. But you can't be stuck either way, right? You have to move.
At the middle ground, right? We have to modulate ourselves. And I think at the end of the day, we all know where we should be needing to move towards. But it's definitely, that fear, that conversation that strikes us, that hits us. But again, nonetheless, when tomorrow, when we wake up again, that's the whole, whether call it a drama or that whole adventure, is going to start.
Yeah. Well, I think we were talking in our previous call, and we were saying that, life has to have all these different flavors, 酸甜苦辣甜, right? If you go through life experiencing all these different flavors, right? Then what is life itself? You can't have the highs if you don't have the low. You can only go high if you manage to experience the low. If you can only know what happiness is, right? Oh yeah. If you can.
Is that your high, Lin?
Yeah, we can't see you.
You don't look kind of convinced.
Okay, continue. Not my idea, but okay.
Yeah, so if you don't experience happiness, if you don't really experience sadness, you really also don't really know what is true happiness. So I think it's like we say, right, both sides of the coin. You need to learn to embrace both sides and all the different flavors. That's the marathon of life.
So that's like, to borrow our analogy, or to lean on our analogy, it's running the race and enjoying the scenery at the same time, right? Like, you also can't be so involved in, this is painful, this is suffering, this pain is this, right? Okay, I signed up and I'm just gonna have fun while I'm suffering and enjoy the scenery too.
Yeah. So making sense, making meaning. Totally agree with you.
So let's begin to land. Thanks guys for hanging in there. We're gonna wrap up soon. So let's do a quick recap. Ben, Jada, what did we talk about? So today's topic was winning in the long haul, right? And we talked about how, if you want to be successful, because this is the last episode of the success series, a large part of being successful in what you do is just outlasting, right? Or what's that Survivor, the island thing?
Outwit, outlast,
Outlast.
outplay. I
It's
think
but it's
something
like
like that.
that, right? Like it's
Yeah.
the quiet ones who are always in the background. Nobody, boots them out first.
Yeah.
And you just outlast, you just hang on. You just
Yeah.
hang on. So what nuggets of wisdom did we talk about hanging on and to succeed?
I could start first, and I would love for you, if still with us for about like an hour and 10 minutes, drop in what has been your biggest takeaway.
Yeah,
Uh,
guys, put in chat. What's your
correct.
takeaway?
Because we can like lump it all up and then do a nice landing. But I think for me, um, I think that whatever Lin that said, like very authentically shared her terrible day today is really the ability to I would say break things down, and then it's like you're chopping potatoes, right? So you can like bring out all the slices of potatoes, the thin slice, right? It's not like just chop it half, right? But you chop all the potatoes into very thin slices, and then you can see that slow things down and really pause, right? So I think the ability to pause, that know how to ask the right questions, to process, to be non-judgmental, to hold space for yourself. I think that's one thing that we can all take away that's going to be very useful. I think second thing was something that I shared was really that whole useful belief, making sense of reframing. Pressure is a privilege, right? And I think the third biggest takeaway I took away from Jada was really that the flavors. And again, it was a reminder, right? Because I think I like pain to a certain extent. It's kind of a bit like how should I say, a bit too cruel on myself. I should also enjoy the lighter, the joyful part of life. And that's a constant reminder for me, like to take, like, for example, like me time, go and do something fun, take up new sport or whatever. I think I need the whole joy of unplannedness. And that's my sort of goal this year as well as next year.
Yeah. Well, I can't see what's on the chat, so I'm just going to just go ahead and share what's my takeaway here first. Ben, if anything, right, what I'm really learning from you is the stamina that you've got. I think this
I
is
like the physical one though, so that's why I'm not losing enough weight.
no, but you say that, but I also know when I open up my IG, I see you waking up at 5 a.m. and going for your what's that, you going for your
Ritual, gym.
ritual, right? So that stamina, whether is it your ability to endure pain, but that mental discipline that you've got there, I think that's something that we all need to really learn and build into. I mean, build that discipline, because that discipline itself and that mental will, right, to go that long haul, that's going to make or break your game. I think our game.
And I'm gonna take away by drawing a connection to what Samuel Lan spoke with to us about under in the money episode. So guys, if you missed money episode, please go catch it. It's really good. We were talking to Samuel Lan, who's a millionaire entrepreneur, and he shared some really good stuff. One of it was, remember, he said how if you want to be successful, right, if you want to earn more money, it boils down to capacity. How much are you able to take on? And I think today, being able to hold down pain and create that space for yourself is capacity, your capacity. And the more you stretch your capacity, the more success you can actually take, because it really is like a mountain, right? If you want to climb high, you got to get ready to go really low.
Yep.
And you got to be able to deal with that.
Yeah.
And they always say before every high comes a low. So this is the natural cycle. This is part of the success journey. And we just accept that, and we just look at how do I constantly build my capacity so that I can become more successful, happier, more fulfilled.
Yeah. So maybe I could just add as a final point, or maybe Lin can wrap it up. Yeah, I totally agree with that capacity, right? So I think again, sometimes if you're not doing it for yourself, do it for the people you're serving. And for me, sometimes when I go and work, like sort of like pursue clients, and they are much, much more successful than me, I know as a speaking coach, that's where I built my sort of like speaking capacity, so that when I go to my clients and say, I've spoken on big stages like last year to 6,000 people, right? That's my capacity, that's my view, that's my space, right? And then that allows me to serve important people, right? So for me, it's always making the plate bigger so that, your shoulders are wider and you can hold more weight. And I think that's how I also basically again reframe another positive belief that spurs me to say, you've got to be better so that someone out there tomorrow is waiting for you. right? Someone is waiting for your better. Someone is waiting for your better tomorrow.
Wow.
If I'm making sense.
We will end on that. Somebody is waiting for your better.
Someone is waiting for the better you tomorrow.
Okay, somebody's waiting for the better you tomorrow. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly read out in chat. We have Samantha says, making meaning of my pain. Well, sometimes it's not always about making meaning of your pain. Sometimes pain is just pain, right? So you don't have to make so much meaning of it.
And don't over philosophize as well. Sometimes, it's just like move on, right? And as much as you can.
Irene says you cannot experience happiness without having experienced pain. Two sides of the same coin, the same duality that we've always been talking about in all our shows. All right, so lots of wisdom. Thank you for joining us, guys. This wraps up our. This wraps up our.
Just like sweating, I think.
Ben, run, come on.
Yeah.
This wraps up our success series. So if you've missed the series, catch up. All the replays are in the Facebook group. So yeah, you can always watch that. The next series is going to be on inner work. So we are going to spend the next few new episodes with people who can show us how to exactly do inner work. Like we've been talking about it, right?
Yeah.
And it gets you thinking. So we're going to bring on people who have different methods who will help you do inner work. We could even make it interactive, right, Jada? Ask them to do it on the spot.
Yeah.
Totally should.
So in the meantime, guys, before next Tuesday, 9 p.m., continue running. Don't stop. Keep going.
If you liked today's episode, you like this, you love Ben on the show, please give us a thumbs up. Thumbs up, like the video, and if it was useful, feel free to share it.
Ben, how can they reach to you if they want to ask you any questions?
Just type in my name, Benjamin, and my last name is Low LH. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, WeChat, TikTok even. But I warn you, if you go to TikTok, you're gonna have like some nasty surprise, so you better not go there.
All right, then. Thank you, Ben. Thank you for being with us. And to all of you who's watching right now, we'll see you next Tuesday, 9 p.m. Singapore time, Facebook Live. Bye.
Finally.
Bye.
Yay. End of the race.
Stop running, Jada. Stop running.
Yeah.